Y esto significa todo para Argentina.
¿Pero vos viste el rally de Finlandia? ¿Cómo vuelan esos autos? Es una cosa de loco.
Sí, pero eso no tenemos en el rally de Argentina. Nosotros eso no.
En Suecia, los autos pasan sobre hielo y nieve a toda velocidad.
Es tremendo la velocidad que andan esos autos, tremendo. Pero acá en el Rally Argentina no tenemos estas cosas. Te digo más, en Córcega estás sentado en un restaurante, ve los autos, pero así, tremendo la velocidad che hanno.
Mi hanno raccontato che in Argentina il rally è proprio sentito. Partono giorni prima per andare in montagna e vedere le macchine 3 o 4 giorni dopo.
Sì, sì, veramente. Anch'io ho visto. Fanno queste grigliate grosse, ma di tanta carne, salamelle, costine, ma una roba bestiale. Anche se piove e nevica, loro non mancano mai.
So in Argentina, there's a stage called El Condor, and apparently it's like the moon up there. It's awesome.
Oletko nähnyt, kun ne vetää sillä Argentiinassa vesistöjä yli? On käsittämättömän näköistä.
Vous avez vu les fans au rallye d'Argentine, ils sont un peu fous, non?
Grave.
Mais non, ils sont pas fous, ils sont juste passionnés, ça vient du cœur.
We are in the Cordoba region for round 5 of the World Rally Championship, the first event of a South American doubleheader, as we'll be heading across the Andes for the inaugural Rally Chile next. 14 events in total make up the calendar, from the snow of Sweden to the tarmac of Corsica and Germany. But Zion Rally Argentina is all about the gravel. And it's one of the roughest, toughest tests of the season. The unpredictable nature of this event highlighted by the 6 different winners in the past 6 years.
Argentina is one of those really historical events that's steeped in World Championship history.
It's never an easy rally and it's always combined with some problems. But then at the end to win the rally is just phenomenal.
It takes a lot of confidence. Normally the conditions here are always difficult.
You have to be able to drive smart and fast at the same time.
But there is one man who's yet to add a win here to his impressive CV. The man who's dominated the sport for the last 6 years, reigning world champion, Sébastien Ogier. But he's now with a team who've topped the podium here 10 times in the last 15 years.
As long as I win the championship at the end of the year, I'm happy to don't win Argentina, but still, I'll try again this year. And Argentina have always been quite keen with Citroën, so let's hope that now we are back together, we can make it together.
And for one of those previous winners, this is a landmark event. It's the 200th WRC start for Jari-Matti Latvala. He becomes the first driver to achieve that feat. And talking of firsts, Ott Tänak is now the first WRC driver to be the star of his own movie.
Obviously, for the moment, life is going fast and you know, everything is happening. It would be nice to have some data to see and yeah, just to remind some good stuff.
We'll hear more from Mr. Box Office later in the programme. Also coming up, this rally is a car wrecker. So how do you insure against those rocks and shocks?
It is actually an engineering challenge to balance out enough protection on a car, but not a substantial increase in weight.
And of course, we'll be bringing you all the best action, including one of the calendar's iconic stages, El Condor, to where 200,000 spectators are expected to make the pilgrimage. And this year's event looks set to be a bigger test than normal for fans and cars, with some heavy pre-rally rainfall.
There's ruts like this full of mud. I don't think it will be that bad. Normally we have good tires which are made for these conditions, but still it will be very, very slippery, probably the most slippy gravel event of the season.
Now all the water have washed out the gravel from the road, so there's a lot of stones, and especially here when it's really high speed, all the roughness is really hard for the cars.
Before we get going, here are the championship standings. Thierry Neuville is the leading driver following his win last time out in Corsica. He has a 2-point lead over second-place Ogier, with Tänak another 3 points back in third. In the Manufacturers' Championship, Hyundai are the early season pace setters, followed by Citroën, Toyota and M Sport Ford. Rally Argentina is famous for its water splashes, but they were not expected on the short street stage around host town Carlos Paz that started the event. With gravel set up, these tarmac roads can catch you out. Throw in the rain, caution would be uppermost in the crew's mind. Tanak fastest around this 1.9 kilometre test, while Teemu Suninen had a lucky escape. But on to Friday and the first gravel stages. The cars heading south from Carlos Paz for 3 morning stages, including the classic Amboy and Santa Rosa. A quick blast around the Ferney Branca Super Special before a repeat of the 3 morning tests. A total of just under 146 competitive kilometres.
Breathtaking, at times brutal, and extremely atmospheric. And on Friday, still soaking wet. A brand new experience for championship leader Thierry Neuville. Autumn in Argentina, it was going to be messy for the first car to start.
We all know that sweeping the road for the others makes it more difficult being first on the road, of course. But when it rains, obviously it's a different situation. The road can get more and more muddy as we turn around the water and the mud and the dirt. It's getting more and more muddy and less traction for the cars behind.
How to be quick in this quagmire? Neuville worked the wheel. His Hyundai slid slowly from corner to corner. Needing a lift after a below-par Corsica, Seb Ogier. But look at this. He could see where his arch-rival had been. It didn't look good. But how would he avoid the same slippery fate? Much quicker out the box, Tanak. Tanak, the winner of the street stage last night, insisting he'd take more care about his championship challenge this season. And here, he had Ogier and Neuville beaten. But he didn't have one of his Toyota teammates beaten on this stage, and that was the one from Northern Ireland, Chris Meek. The feeling was that the drivers would have to try and survive these opening few kilometres. That's how bad they looked. But Meek went on the attack, and he won stage 2.
Chris, the times are up on the board there, quickest by 1 second. What was it like?
You need to ask the car, because I wasn't the driving at times. I was a passenger. Okay, 60-70% of the stage was okay, but where it was tricky, it was full mud, so interesting.
And experience is essential in South America. Esa-Pekka Lappi was short of it. This only his second attempt at taming these hills. Experience teaches a driver how to read these unique roads. Learn where to attack and where to protect the car. That's, of course, if you're brave enough.
Becky, looking at the times there, what happened in the last split? You were right up with Chris going into it.
I took very carefully. I mean, I saw the lines of Chris. Not for me, thank you.
Stage 3 was cancelled. Crucial exit roads from the stage were thick with mud. So the leaderboard stayed as it was, filled with Toyotas and Hyundais, but not Neuville's. The fans were still eager, awaiting the cars at the start of stage 4. Time for the championship leader Neuville to make a splash.
som är en briljant att det är fort et profond. Det går 140 brève som krav.
Textbook treatment for the first big water crossing, keeping all that water away from the engine. It was fast stuff. Normal service from Nerville. A shade off Nerville's pace. Chris Meek.
Bit of a crest at 150. Small crest.
But then his start hadn't been such a damp squib, had it?
100. Early flat to 6 left through dip. Straight 200.
And Meek's pace. In here, crucially, enough to pass Tanak. Meek was into the lead. Still being careful, blown away by Chris Meek's driving lines, it was Esa-Pekka Lappi. But EP carried a touch too much speed. Down here, over this awkward crest, and cracked a rear wheel in a ditch. He got away with it, but air was escaping from a tyre. And by the end of the stage, 25 seconds were lost. As were 3 places on the leaderboard, Lappi was down to 9th. Tackling these water splashes is an art. It's about timing and placing the car correctly. And that applies to the water splashes that have appeared in places you weren't expecting. Here's one. Teemu Sunnanen's mission to keep all the important stuff away from the splashing water. But Teemu didn't think he'd managed it.
Teemu, a little bit more time dropped in there. Is that a confidence thing?
No, engine was sucking a lot of water and wasn't running well for 1 kilometer. And I'm not sure it hit okay or not, but let's see.
The morning stages ended with the 6-kilometre Fernand Branca Super Special stage. Meek maintained his lead, but it was Thierry Neuville on the move up to 2nd. Tanak dropping to 3rd. It's been a testing morning for all the crews, but for Jari-Matti Latvala on his record-breaking 200th WRC start, the problems continued at service.
I'm sure your level of concentration is always very high, but would you say it's perhaps even higher when you go into something so unknown?
Well, let's say if you are normal 100, then you are in the best zone 110, and when it's a difficult condition, you need 120.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Well, let's hope we do see Jari-Matti on Friday's afternoon stages. They're coming right up. We are in the Cordoba region of Argentina for round 5 of the World Rally Championship, where Chris Meek leads going into Friday's afternoon stages.
Cordoba, Argentina, soaked in a passion for the World Rally Championship. And a place that 6-time world champion Seb Ogier has never managed to conquer. And as he tipped his C3 onto one wheel, he must have wondered whether he ever would. Even the sport's class act was having trouble with the amount of mountain mud.
Yeah, I had a big moment. I nearly rolled in the ruts. The car got stuck in the ruts. I was in one wheel, basically, only the front. Didn't see anything else on the road. It was very, very close.
Chris Meek won this round of the World Rally Championship in 2015. It was emotional stuff. It was his first WRC win. But here the rally leader just wasn't able to press home his advantage.
All after hard with nips. Watch the mud.
His Yaris had taken a knock. And the rear right corner was carrying damage. His chance to clock up more quick stage times was fading. On stage 7 he had no traction. Little answer to the other cars behind him on the leaderboard. The Yaris looking a little second-hand at the moment. Despite the speed, his lead was about to be lost as well. Chris's lead was going to teammate Oyt Tanak. Tanak now peering out into the gloom through a cracked windscreen. Hoyt got on much better in the one and only run through the Amboy stage, the one that was cancelled in the morning. But then, disappointment on stage 8. Something much more crucial than the windscreen cracked. Right there. It was a drive shaft. The ailing Yaris just seemed to, well, kind of escape from underneath him.
Right, end of the last stage of the first day, but what was going on just near the end?
Yeah, I have broken drive shaft.
Is that what caused the spin?
In 3 stages, we would have 3 different rally leaders. This was the third of them, Thierry Neuville, and Friday was coming to an end. Great timing, a great drive. Now, you could argue that it had been handed to him, but remember, he'd been first on the road. Finishing Friday in 8th place, Jari-Matti Latvala. Latvala disappointed. He'd been too cautious. He fears all this standing water. And because he'd had more than one puncture earlier, he couldn't afford another one. But another puncture was what he'd got. A moment of brain fade cost Spain's Dani Sordo 2 valuable places on the last of the Friday stages. In a hurry to get the day done, he couldn't keep his speeding car out of trouble. Half a minute actually ticked by as he tried to make up for the slip. Esa-Pekka Lapis Friday and his rally finished early. EP landed awkwardly after this crest. On the last stage of the day, lots of speed involved. The aftermath looked as if his C3 had taken a hefty frontal impact. He was 20 kilometres into stage 8, but both Lappi and his co-driver were out of the car.
So it's Thierry Neuville who now tops the leaderboard. Ogier ends the day 11.9 seconds behind, with Tanak slipping to third, but still very much in the hunt, only 1.5 seconds further back. Chris Meek and Andreas Mikkelsen complete the top 5, with less than half a minute between them. Elvin Evans is the leading M-Sport driver in 6th, while teammate Teemu Sundinen holds 9th position. While mud and ruts may have been their main concern today, there are some big rocks in these stages. Some tweaks to set up and some extra armour is required.
Here in WRC Argentina, you can find these everywhere. Drivers are doing their best to avoid them, but it's inevitable that they will hit them. Our job is to protect the cars when this happens. In M-Sport, we have 2 kinds of protection of the car, as we call it active protection and passive protection. Active protection for us means that we are trying to actively avoid the hits. We can set up our dampers a little bit different to other rallies, just to absorb more energy and keep the car higher. It's not only on the engineering side with higher ride height, but it's also on the driver's side with avoiding the hits. Passive protection is the extra parts on the car which are making sure the car will be protected when the hit actually comes. In front of me, we have some guard, which protects engine and gearbox. We also have this middle guard, which protects, for example, exhaust. And we have also this diff guard, which protects the rear of the car. We are carrying extra spare parts, and we are carrying spare wishbones, and the driver can change them in case there is some major damage on these parts. We have factor which is called Jari Latvala crash. This comes from past when Jari was driving for Ford. And we are designing these parts to withstand this kind of scenario. We have the good balance for Rally Argentina. We have some experience from last years, so I'm sure that the balance is good on our side.
Passive or active protection? That's of little consequence when you hit something this size. Find out who was on the receiving end of that impact shortly. It's Saturday morning at the Villa Carlos Paz Service Park. Sebastian Ogier starts today in second, but there appears to be some concern as his Citroën receives its final preparations. That clock at the top of your screen suggests he should already be on the way to time control. A late checkout would mean a costly time penalty. By contrast, all looks calm with the rally leader, Thierry Neuville. Ogier is finally on his way, while his service crew are left to examine the offending part.
We just had a very small issue with a cooling pipe at the rear brake, but it's fixed.
Was there any delay? What's the time penalty, if any, of getting out of service?
No, it's okay. No penalty.
And that Citroën will need to be in perfect working order, as it will have to get through 7 abrasive gravel stages today. The 3 morning stages will be repeated in the afternoon with a super special in between. The 33 kilometers from Chachia, Nevada to Characato is the longest of this event.
Saturday dawned clear, bright, and busy on the side of Saturday stages that were barren but very fast. Downtown, Chris Meek.
20, line go ahead in left plus, hug.
Chris, remember, had been one of our rally leaders on Friday, but was now out of the podium places.
Line fast, 3 right.
Here, past hillsides like theatre galleries.
60, 50.
The stage is packed.
Line early, 3 left minus
The road now sandy and drier.
And line long flat 4 left, opens 80.
Drive shaft replaced, ambition topped up, desire renewed. Oyt Tanak. And Tanak was back to his very best for these big crowds. It was as though Cordoba had emptied. Meek and Tanak were pushing on. They wanted to fill this Argentine podium with Toyotas. How good was Oyt on Saturday morning? Well, let's measure him against the world champion, Seb Ogier. There's the clock. Who's the quicker? How good was Oyt? That good. It set a time that Ogier couldn't match, and Seb was down a place. Saturday began with Elvin Evans in 6th place.
Open 4 right minus of a crest, keep in. Into crest, the medium 4 left.
But it ended broadside, down stage 10, and nose onto that Argentine boulder. There was a big bang, and Wales had suddenly lost its hero.
Crest, the immediate 4 left.
Co-driver Scott Martin sounded convinced that Elfyn was going to escape, but then came that rock.
Awkward.
Rocks 1, Elfyn 0, and a hefty snag list to get his Fiesta showroom shiny again for our next round in Chile. Meanwhile, on top of the world, Ott Tänak, and this was mighty fast stuff. But still, it turned out Ott was keeping something in the tank.
Ott crickets through the stage by 2.8 seconds. It's a little bit like last year. You won almost every stage on Saturday. What is it about these stages that you enjoy so much?
I don't know. It's a smooth road today, but this year the conditions are much more tricky, very inconsistent. So not really pushing the limits yet. So it's still quite tricky out there.
But only 2.5 seconds slower through the high plains to Coachella, Nevada, was Thierry Neuville, who had rubber-stamped his Friday credentials by bagging stage 9 earlier on and keeping the rally lead. Well, anything Ott could do. Back down the road, Elfyn Evans, who wouldn't continue on Sunday. So Ott Tänak on a charge, but Neuville still over 11 seconds to the good. And with Elfyn Evans picking up the pieces of his Ford Fiesta, that meant that Teemu Sonninen was now M-Sport's sole runner for the rest of the weekend. Teemu not as experienced as Elfyn in Argentina, and in places it showed. Jari-Matti Latvala was fighting to get himself into the battle over 5th place. Despite 200 WRC starts, this little bit of Argentina wasn't well known to him. The rear of his Yaris getting a bit too much exposure. The brakes were beginning to fade on Chris Meek's Toyota.
Unseen, 1 left, don't cut. And the deep river. Into tight 2 right minus, don't cut.
Co-driver Sepp Marshall didn't like the entry into this water splash at all. Meek was beginning to lose time as he passed this gate and cattle grid to the right-hand side.
The short flat left, danger no cut. 120, flat.
Whereas on Friday, these two Toyotas had traded and swapped stage wins and the rally lead. Now it was Tänak who was the pick of the two. Seb Ogier lost a lot of time on stage 11. And the reason for that was a junction after this water splash. And this gate coming up with 2 possible routes. He took the left option. And that thud broke his power steering. A costly choice, but the world champion had his reasons for doing so.
Seb, hearing you had a big moment and you're losing time, what's the problem?
I have no power steering anymore, and yeah, there was a junction where it was not like in the Ricky, and I got confused, and I did a stupid mistake. I hit a gate, because actually everyone went not in the gate, and I hesitate, and then I touched the gate.
Ogier confused, Meek leaking time, but Tänak making inroads into rally leader Thierry Neuville. Neuville beaten for pace in stage 11, but still the rally leader. Then side by side they went on a spectator stage in Carlos Paz, Ogier and Meek. Chris with a flailing rear left tyre, and Ogier still without any power steering.
Into line, right, tightens very fast, 3 right plus, and right for 150.
That section on stage 11 appeared to have damaged the hopes of a victory for 2 of the sport's big names.
Right opens, 80.
Reigning world champion Ogier now in 6th place, over a minute off the lead, while Meek drops to 4th. Andreas Mikkelsen, the main beneficiary of their troubles, as he climbs to 3rd. The battle for 1st now between Neuville and Oyt Tanak, a driver currently on the crest of a wave. Rally star to movie star, the story of Oyt Tanak's rise and his titanic battle for glory in the 2018 season premiered in Estonia just before he made the trip to Argentina, where we caught up with him as he put in some pre-event training.
It's difficult to enjoy cameras following every day, but that was part of the job. Basically, my personal idea was just to have something to remember after 10-20 years, what we've been doing. Obviously, for the moment, life is going fast and you know, everything is happening, but for the moment, it seems to be normal. But I believe after years, we struggle to remember what we actually did and how everything was evolving. It would be nice to have some data to see, just to remind some good stuff.
Aga tüdrukul on kriini sellest, ma tahan teda kodus näha.
The job the guys have done, it's been great. Also great for our sport to bring some more people and yeah, I believe these things are good to have.
Oyt's conscious of the need to give something back to the sport that has given him so much, which is part of the reason for joining forces with MM Motorsport, the company run by the man who first put Estonian rallying on the map, Marko Martin.
The big picture is just to have something for the future. I believe, yes, in a small country like Estonia, if there is Marko and there is me, then there is no point to work separately. To put the forces together, obviously, it would help to do something bigger. It's never easy to bring someone up from that small place to find these new talents, but that would be great if we could do something like this. But there are also many more things we'd like to do and to develop something in this sport.
But winning WRC events is still top of his priorities as Oyt returns to the scene of one of his 4 wins last year.
It's a fast event with normally quite high mechanical grip, so it should really suit to our car. And generally, we are confident we should be able to perform well on this event. So, of course, we really want to fight for the win.
But the big question is if he's now better equipped to win the Drivers' Championship this year and become the #1 box office attraction.
First, we have a lot of experience from the previous years, so we already know what to expect. Obviously, the confidence is there. We are happy the way we've been developing and performing, so I guess if we keep continuing the same way and just basically miss the mistakes we did last year, I believe we should be competitive.
And by Saturday afternoon in Argentina, Tanak had an answer for everyone, except that was this one, Thierry Neuville, our rally leader. And look at this, another massive turnout from the village of Tanti for the afternoon loop of stages.
En gaucher, 3, sur droite 120 plus, sur 50. Gauche pas plus, épingle corde. Gauche pas plus, épingle corde. 50. Droite 30 moins bidon et 3.
Danny Sordo completed Saturday in 5th place, 9 seconds from the podium, where he found both his Hyundai teammates. Danny lost a little time on the afternoon's opening stage, but put in a measured performance and was still there and still in contention. And here was one of his teammates. Andreas Mikkelsen had made suspension changes at lunchtime and had pimped his i20 into a dream ride. He took the twists and he took the turns cleanly and precisely. And he finished the day with a stage win. Bring on Sunday. And why, you'll ask, wasn't Oyt Tänak in second? Well, this was why. The helicopter had happened across the Estonian stricken Yaris. At this corner, the car stationary, cold. It was an electrical glitch. Competitive no more, but surrounded by fans. Tänak gone for the day. Seb Ogier's C3 was now back to rude health. Now, there's nothing worse than trying to steer a rally car without power steering. But that steering was now back to full power. And interesting to see the alterations made to the gate that had caused the drivers to be in two minds this morning. 10 times the performance now, and with half the effort.
Quicker than Chris in there, Seb, but only just. How was it?
Yeah, it's been better than this morning, obviously, with for steering. And let's see what happened tonight. Now I think the position gonna change because some guy didn't respect the routes, obviously, this morning here. So.
But look at this. Watching Thierry pass him must have made Oyt Tänak's blood boil. This was a defining moment for two championship hopefuls this year. And Neuville much more comfortable now that Tänak had gone. Pressure off, things were looking very rosy for him and Hyundai.
And as Sébastien Ogier predicted, the positions have changed. Chris Meek among the drivers to receive a 10-second penalty for taking the wrong route through that gate. That drops him to 5th, with Ogier taking over in 3rd. But it's now two Hyundais at the top, Neuville and Mikkelsen. A few bumps and bruises along the way for Jari-Matti Latvala, but he'll end the day in 6th position. Back at service, though, he's still picking up a trophy to commemorate his 200th WRC start, the first driver to achieve that landmark.
Really nice, very, very special, really nice memories. Thank you so much.
So far, Rally Argentina has been predictably unpredictable, with a little bit of controversy too. How will the final day unfold? Find out after this break. It's a big final day at Rally Argentina, where Thierry Neuville is the leader. Some classic mountain stages to come, but at the morning service there is a hangover from Saturday night for 5th place Chris Meek.
We obviously finished the day yesterday in 3rd. You start this morning in 5th. I'd like to get your opinion, please, on this time penalty from yesterday.
It is what it is. That's what it is. Like every driver said when they arrived, it was confusing. Ogier said himself it was confusing when you arrived there. Ultimately, my decision cost me less time than him, so, okay.
In this sort of situation, it's frustrating, obviously. How easy is it for you to shut that out and get back in hand? You're not far behind Danny. There's still places to be gained, and these are interesting stages out there this morning.
We're not far behind Seb either, so we'll try.
Thanks, Chris.
So just 3 stages await Chris and the other drivers today, but they're no ordinary tests as they climb and descend the mountains of the Cordoba province. So get set for Mina Clavero and 2 climbs of the iconic El Condor.
full of people. It's really an amazing atmosphere.
There's been 20 kilometers queues before the stages.
The tents were already up on the recce, and that was on Tuesday.
You don't see anywhere else people camping at the stages like you see in El Conda, doing barbecues, having good fun and waiting for rally cars to come.
It's a gruesome stage. It's rough, it's technical, tricky, no room for mistakes.
Very unique surface, pretty rough, but if the weather is good, it can be pretty special to drive in between those huge rocks. Going up maybe a little easier than going down.
That's right. For the rest of the day, we were on top of the rally world. And hard into the far section of the stage went the 2014 Argentina winner, Jari Matti-Latvala. Latvala, now known as Mr. 200 because of his milestone statistic this weekend. But going up Argentina's favourite hill was a new experience. Mind you, he didn't look phased at having to fight gravity. Having hunted all weekend, Seb Ogier was now the hunted. On the podium, but with Chris Meek out to get that third place back. Ogier hoping he'd closed the door on yesterday's gate controversy, but he hadn't. This drive was opening it up again. It was hesitant. It was off colour. And he knew it.
Quickest through the stage by 2.5 seconds, but the final split we have for Chris, he's 6 seconds faster than you up here.
Yeah, I was thinking even to lose on everyone because I'm really struggling. The car is not working.
What's wrong, do you know?
Just no grip, no traction.
This was traction. This was Chris Meek. Thunder in his eyes. Revenge on his heart. And a stage winner in stage 16. Andreas Mikkelsen climbed the 800-metre ascent better than Seb, threading the needle through the old Packhorse road from yesteryear, just keeping a little back if he needed it. But that will be unlikely. And then the lead Hyundai, Thierry Neuville, dropping a bit of time. But with so much in hand over his rivals, that didn't really matter. "16 stages down, 2 more to come. And his comfort zone looked peachy. Neuville with over 30 seconds in hand. And look at that on the leaderboard. Meek is now right on Ogier's tail. The lunar landscape continued at Mina Clavera, and so did the questions about Seb Ogier. Was there something wrong here? Or was he just toying with us? Or, crucially, were he and his C3 losing their grip on the podium right at the end? Fresh from his stage win, and closer still, Chris Meek. And it had been a stage win that had gained him enough time to get past Danny Sordo a few moments ago. Meek had all the grip he needed. Chris Meek was squeezing the life out of Seb Ogier.
The fight is on, Chris.
The gap is now 5.2 ahead of Ogier.
Okay. Not a bad run, but I had some trouble with the steering. Again, it locked in me on this stage, and okay. Still some work to do.
With one stage to go, the main attraction is that battle for third between the Toyota of Meek and the Citroën of Ogier, while Lavela is now up to fifth after passing Sordo. But it's the two Hyundais of Neuville and Mikkelsen at the top.
Oh, the tension had risen and risen again, and now it was the power stage. What now? Hadn't we seen it all? Lunch? Well, hurry. That's what Seb Ogier had to do. Ogier, a man who's never dined out on his domination of this sport, because Rally Argentina has always been the one that's got away. But after two bad stages, he had one more surprise up his sleeve for the hordes of fans still waiting at the top of rallying's most famous hill. First, though, he had to beat Jari-Matti Latvala, already through, and he hoped with the full 5 bonus points, or maybe not Jari-Matti. Leaping into that mountain air, Ogier had beaten him by 1/10. What have I got to do, Latvala thought. And that's why they pay Ogier the big bucks. But had Ogier done enough to get all that time back that he just lost to Chris Meek? As the clock ticked away and Meek gave it his all, the answer was yes, he had. Red numbers for Meek. Chris Meek was off the podium. Boss Mäkinen looked on like Christmas had just been cancelled. What did it mean? It meant Ogier was back on the podium. But why?
Chris, I'm sorry to be the one to give you this news, but you dropped position in this stage, losing 6.6 seconds to Seb.
Yeah, the front left was completely flat for 5Ks to go, so what can I do?
Squeezed out of the trophy positions over the final few kilometres. But by contrast, Andreas Mikkelsen was on a high. On a rally he loves. And having been dropped from the round at Corsica, Hyundai using 4 drivers for their 3-car assault on the Manufacturers' Championship this season, well, Mikkelsen had given them lots to think about here. All wrapped up around a lovely second place. Mikkelsen's best of the season. But what Hyundai love even more is this rally-winning consistency from Thierry Neuville. If Corsica was a gift, Argentina he had grabbed early and with both hands. Well done, said his co-driver. The top man at Hyundai leapt to his feet with joy. The dynamic duo couldn't wait to leap on their car for the gallery of cameras. But in the rush for the bonus points, no one had touched Seb Ogier, pipping Latvala and Neuville, and nothing for Meek, squeezed off the podium and the power stage. The champagne? Well, that was heading for Neuville.
Yeah, it's feeling great, to be honest. I have to say we had a great car all weekend. I felt very comfortable in it, and I think it's a big team effort. Everybody pushed very hard, not only the team here, but also all the team back in Germany. We are constantly working very hard, and we can see the progress. That's the main thing. So we're really thankful for that, and now we are looking forward to the upcoming events. I mean, good points for the championship, but for sure the upcoming events could be tougher.
Neuville claimed victory in Argentina by a margin of more than 48 seconds. Mikkelsen completing a fine Hyundai 1-2, with Ogier snatching third from Meek's grasp on the very last stage. Latvala finished fifth after seeing off Sordo on the final day.
I have many things to care, and it's a bit emotional for me to know that my people is pushing so hard, and I'm someone who asks a lot, I know, but when I see this kind of things, I just to say thank you. I know there is still a long road to do, but I'm happy.
So Thierry Neuville gets his championship lead into double figures with his second victory of the season. Reigning champion Ogier is in second. Benoit Tanak's disappointing weekend sees him 28 points off the lead in third. That 1-2 finish means a lead of 37 points for Hyundai in the Manufacturers' Championship. Esa-Pekka Lappi's retirement sees Citroën drop to third behind Toyota. For the second rally in a row, Neuville and Goulzoul experiencing that sweet taste of success. But can they do it again over the border? An all-new challenge at Rally Chile is next. See you in a couple of weeks for another South American adventure.
I was in one wheel basically.